Hi, it's Lesterine here with eXp Realty. Today, the topic of discussion is home buyers' mistake. Oftentimes, a lot of home buyers decide they're going to go and try to purchase a home on their own. I'm going to talk to you about certain things that you're really going to need to put in place to make sure you have the best representation possible. Whether it's your first purchase or your fifth purchase, home buying process can be very challenging and can be very complex. In today's day, it's really a seller's market, and your sellers are being represented by a seller's agent. So they have a fiduciary responsibility for that seller. As a buyer, you're going into people's homes. There's certain things that are going on that you may or may not be aware of. And your buyer's agent is the one that will provide you that level of expertise and detail. So the first mistake is if you do not get a buyer's agent. The buyer's agent will do their research in looking up information about that particular property. The buyer's agent will set listing appointments or showing appointments so that they can take you around to see these properties. Right now, while there's COVID going on, there's certain expectations from the sellers that they want to make sure happens. If you're going out on your own, it's going to be very difficult for you to go in and see properties. You want to really utilize your time and your resources as best as you can. With a buyer's agent, they will set up those appointments, they will schedule them, they will take you from home to home and give you really good details about the property, how long the property's been on the market, how many times the property has been sold in the past, what potential defects that buyer's agent may be looking at, and they can point those informations out to you as you peruse the property. If you do this on your own, chances are you're not going to be able to go into someone's home because you really don't have any credentials as just an independent person trying to go in to look at a property. And you're not going to be able to go in to look at a property in that way. Unless you know someone who knows someone who will allow you to do that, that's not going to happen. And from a safety perspective, the buyer's agent has to register the showings. So these are things that you really need to keep in mind when you are going to be buying a property. That's mistake number one. Don't do it on your own. Get yourself a buyer's agent. Another misconception that buyers have with the buyer's agent, they seem to think that they have to pay the buyer's agent, and that is simply not the case. The buyer's agent gets paid by the seller's agent. The commission comes from the selling portion of the transaction. So there is no way that a buyer needs to go deep down in their pockets to get money out to pay any buyer's agent. Using a buyer's agent means that someone is working on your behalf. So please keep that in mind when you are considering purchasing a home. The commission is paid from the sales proceeds of the transaction through the seller's side. However, you as a buyer get all the benefits from the home buying process from a professional, knowledgeable agent just like myself. Mistake number two, the buyer not getting pre-approved or pre-qualified for the purchase of a home. What tends to happen is you want to go and work with a mortgage agent or a mortgage broker, and you really want to find out exactly how much home you can purchase. If you don't do this process, you spend a lot of time wasting time going from one property to the other. You may or may not fall in love with the property, and if you do fall in love with the property, then you find out you're not able to purchase it. Most important thing is to get qualified to see exactly how much home you can purchase. Then your buyer's agent will be able to do some investigation, some shopping around to look within the area that you are interested in to see exactly what you are able to look at in terms of going home shopping. If you don't do this piece, you're going to be dissatisfied, you're going to be upset with yourself, you may be upset that you're not able to get that type of property because you have not been able to qualify for that amount of money. So that is a big piece. Also, being pre-qualified, some sellers now and the seller's agent want to see that pre-qualification because they don't want to waste time, especially when an offer is being put on the table. They want to make sure that you are capable of closing on that transaction when the closing date comes. Then we have mistake number 3, not really studying the home up front, looking at the home, figuring out what may be good, what may be bad with the home, looking at inspection issues, putting in inspection clauses, putting in financing clauses if you're really not certain, making sure certain things haven't occurred in the home, and even getting that deal or the documentation completed properly. You want to ensure that your buyer's agent is going to be able to walk you through that piece of the transaction. When you go and you're looking at the property, the buyer's agent will be able to identify positives and negatives of the property. And when putting that transaction together, they're able to identify some of the key points that you really want to make sure you have in your deal. If this is not done, come the day of closing or after the deal closes, then you don't want to have any issues show up. You don't want to have to spend more money than you really need to. Give you an example. I've had a client where they purchased a home. Everything was done through the inspection process, but shortly after that, the furnace blew. Not really any issues of anyone on its own. However, these are some of the things that can potentially occur, and your buyer's agent could probably put in a clause where they identify some of those issues. Your buyer's agent can negotiate price reduction if there are certain flaws that you have identified through that home buying experience. This is why you really need to have a buyer's agent throughout your transaction process. You may be able to do that on your own, and some people do, but more often than not, there are some issues and glitches that they encounter later on, and it could have a huge financial impact on you at the end of the closing of your transaction. So definitely get a buyer's agent. Hopefully that's me. If not, get someone that you know who knows the buyer's market, the housing market, and can really negotiate on your behalf to give you a very good and successful closing transaction. If today you found the information that I provided with you was valuable, please subscribe to my channel. Until next time, to your buying experience and real estate experience.